All right, hey everybody, this is Ben Nanke here with Beethead. Joining me today are Cody and Matt Steele from SonRise Church. We're going to be talking today about some of their projects with the church, as well as Stitches, their community outreach project, and some stuff about music in Salem. Both of these guys are great musicians, and oh yeah, and
thank you.
And
we can be great musicians.
you can be great. You're allowed to be great musicians.
All right.
And talk a little bit about the music scene in Salem and Portland and Oregon at large. So, how you guys doing today?
Feeling good.
Doing good.
Can't complain
Happy
at
to
all.
be here.
Doing awesome.
You could complain, but you're not.
Can't.
Which is why
Can't do it.
you're awesome. Yeah. So let's just fire out of the gate here. I've got my questions written down here, and just talk a little bit about the community. I know you guys are doing a lot of really good work through SonRise Church in downtown Salem and through Stitches, and I know that recently there's been kind of a cool trend that's going on in Salem where you're seeing some of the pastors coming together and actually hanging out with each other and doing Bible groups. I recently heard about one of the pastors at Morning Star Church going fishing with some of the pastors from Dayspring Fellowship up in Kaiser, which is a very cool thing. And I'm just talking with them and hearing about it. It sounds like that is something that's very unusual to see. That there's not usually that type of camaraderie between different churches where they're coming together. So I know I think I've discussed with both of you guys at some point about this type of thing. How do you feel about the direction that Salem's churches are moving?
I feel that things are changing in Salem when it comes to that aspect. I feel like there is a possible unification of some churches. I feel like our church has also sort of been a catalyst for that as well. I mean, one of many. I think it's just an attitude that is changing. You know, we're just tired of there being all these separate churches, and even though we believe the same thing, we all have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
And it's just something that's needed to be addressed as a long time, and I think Salem might be a good leader for that, possibly. When it comes to our church, we have feeds Monday through Wednesday at 5 p.m. And just anyone who's hungry can come and eat there. And the people that are signed up to bring the food, they come from any church in the area. And it's usually some families that are just part of these churches, some pastors, some individuals, just anybody that decides they want to bless people in that way, and feed people that are hungry in Salem. They sign on, they do it at our church, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to just meet people from all over the place, different beliefs, different different churches, different areas of town, and just see what's going on in all the different ministries that are in Salem. And we like being kind of a center spot right here downtown for that.
Yeah, that's really true. You guys have a great location for bringing people together because it's right there. It's near the waterfront. It's near Riverfront Park. It's right near all the coffee shops downtown. I know recently I've been hanging out in the Governor's Cup, and I'll be sitting up in the top area, and I'll just hear Bible study groups, and it always perks my up because it's like I just hear Jesus, and I'm like, what's going on? and yeah, it's just people from all different churches are coming together, which is very cool.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that that we're using the feeds to do that, because it's such a neutral thing that benefits so many people. Like, it's not, we're not discussing theology, we're not discussing doctrine or anything like that. It's, we're here to provide food for people that are hungry, and so we can get involved with these churches and not have to worry about any of that sticky stuff that goes along with churches getting close to each other, because they do have different ideas about things, and that common goal of just feeding people who are hungry, just I mean, we can all agree on that that needs to be done. So
It is. It's probably the single most unifying factor of all this happening is the one thing that basically all churches can agree on is just the fact that we need to love people.
Yeah.
So just through going out and serving and doing some sort of outreach, but it doesn't have to get too complicated. The feed has been fantastic for that because it's just a simple act of service. Everyone can get down with that.
Yeah.
So instead of getting involved with, the different beliefs, different specific beliefs, different doctrine or theology, let's just love people. Let that be the most important thing. And what we believe is just doing what Jesus did. And the rest of it, we can talk about it, we can debate over it, but it's good that we can get over that. We shouldn't. There's a lot of beliefs that we shouldn't fight over or be willing to die for. There's very few things in life that we should get so defensive about, and it's just a lot better to come together in something as simple and as pure and as powerful as love.
Yeah.
And that's I think that since that's one of our main focuses down at SonRise, a lot of our support comes from so many different churches. I mean, even financially, a lot of the givers we're not particularly affiliated with any particular denomination, any specific church. Whoever gives to us gives. We don't make nothing in an offering, really, because people that come to our church don't have money.
Yeah.
But because of our mission, just because of we're completely focused on service and loving those that need it, so many churches and so many different people can come together and support something like what we do. And that's not just happening at our church either, but it's been a wonderful thing to see it happen there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really true. And I know I've felt similar as well with just the culture in Oregon. It feels like something, or in Salem really, it feels like something big is happening. And I don't really know what it is, but it's, I know I was talking with somebody at my church and talking about sort of giving up self, and it was the idea that there's a plan that we can't necessarily see, or there's a veil that's down, or a curtain, and when that curtain comes up, make sure you're standing on your cue, and make sure you're where God needs you to be. And it feels like the kind of thing where it's all walking in a dark room, but there's like in the studio that we have here, there's that voice that's coming through that's just sort of, you can kind of hear it, and it's like, yeah, there's something happening here. This isn't all just, we're not just all messing around here. There's some thing that big that's happening. And I know I had been talking with Matt earlier today. I was relaying the experience that another friend of mine who was up in Portland had, saying that, where is the Christian community up in Portland? And Matt was telling me about a thing called Solid Rock, and the 7-day prayer thing. So are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I didn't attend that, but yeah, that's Matt got the chance to be part of that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Basically, what Solid Rock has done is they've created a forum where multiple churches can get together, and they devote 7 days out of the year to prayer and fasting, and they do it together. They meet at different locations to kind of get to see what the other churches are doing. And they just pray about different issues in the city, things that need to be addressed, or dreams that we would have for the city, Yeah. And then on the seventh day, all the churches got together downtown on the waterfront, and we just prayed and did a few worship sets, and then just went out into the city to see what would happen. Like we were in this mindset, this prayerful mindset, and we just went out into the city just to see, if God was going to move that day, and I'm told that stuff happened, and I don't know the details, of course, but prayers were answered. And it also brought those churches together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think it was successful myself.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I'm really glad because I know there's a lot of the public perception is that Portland is sort of a very secular area, and I mean to an extent, I think that that's true within certain communities. But it's good to hear that there is an effort that's being done to sort of reach out into that and reach out in a faithful way, to just connect with people and talk with them about what's going on with their faith. And what's going on with their spirit and their heart. And so the fact that that's also in Portland is a really good thing. Let's see, now, with the Christian community here in town, in Salem, just really quick, let's talk about some of the things that could maybe be done to improve it here in town, and some of the, like you said, some of the dreams that would be cool to have realized here in Salem.
Well, that's a good question. I think it just starts in community. Sorry, my voice is kind of going out, getting over a cold here.
We can cut your mic if you want to just do like a hearty man cough.
Yeah, I guess so.
Here, Dash, you want to pull down the mic for just a sec?
Let's do that.
Or, we could mute the audio as well. That works.
Well.
But boom, it's all good.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
But I think it just starts in that. It just starts in the community. It starts in the activities. I think we've tried too hard before in Salem. I know between some leaders, there's disappointment at an event we had a few years back called the Salem River Fest.
Okay.
And that was it was a huge event we had that was put on by all the churches. Had all these big name bands come out. The entire riverfront park was full. You had, motocross stunts and all these crazy, all this food and just different shows going all over the place. It was like a 2 or 3 day event, I believe, and it was a lot of fun. But obviously, the point of it was for it to be free because it was meant to be an outreach opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the focus of Salem and the churches in Salem, and what we'd like to see is some people that aren't Christians come to events and maybe see what Jesus is about. So for the church unification, I mean, that was a good example of the church coming together, but they came together for them. They didn't. There wasn't people that weren't Christians that came to this giant Christian gathering.
Yeah.
And I think it would be simple. I mean, I think it's good to have maybe smaller events that would happen on a smaller scale, maybe between leaders, between individual members, having groups that meet possibly regularly or just every once in a while. Then you could do worship or prayer.
Yeah.
And that is happening here and there, but I'd love to see that more. We know there's one particular church that we've attended recently called the Salem Ecclesia, and they have also met downtown. And they hold their service on Saturday night in hopes that their members will attend other churches on Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
I think seeing things like that would be more, people going to multiple services is a good start.
Yeah.
But just the fact that even on Sundays and even the weekends, our beliefs, our faith doesn't end there. It'd be nice to see people come together and for one purpose, and that's why we love having Stitches there, and we've seen that a lot is because we're available there all week with the Stitches outreach to whoever comes down there, and other churches can come whenever they want, hang out with the kids that hang out down there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not any particular answer to how to get churches to come together. Otherwise, that people have to want it, have to want to, not be in their own little bubble, not be in their own little, church service and just have a career. Other than that, they have to want to live the life.
Yeah.
And live for actually have purpose in their walk, and to the point of wanting that to grow, to get bigger.
Yeah.
The only way you can do that is by getting involved with more people, and more people doing that with you.
Yeah.
So just getting together with people that you don't normally hang out with, I think, is a good start.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Now, I remember, and I think I shared this with you, Matt, a sermon, I guess it would be a sermon, a presentation given by an Australian lady named Christine Kane. And I think you'll remember it when I start saying what she said, that she came out and she was talking about how a lot of the time Christians just like to be, to sort of step away from the world, to step away from culture, to step away from interaction with other people who don't believe, and sort of isolate themselves, like you were saying, in their own little bubble. And she made a really good anecdote, which was saying that you can either be of the world, but not in it, in a sense, still being made of the same fabric of the world, but just isolating yourself from the rest of it. Or you can be in the world, but not of it, and be something completely different. And I mean, throughout history, I think my worship leader, Cap, was talking about a book called Jesus Freaks that talks about people who have done absolutely radical things, and in not like in radical in the traditional sense where it's like crazy bad things, but just unusual things that you don't normally see in society, the type of thing where people from anywhere, just to, like with the case of the disciple Philip, running up to a chariot and preaching the gospel to the guy in the chariot, and it's a chariot moving at full speed, to things like people who are willing to not fight back, and in situations where they said, renounce your faith or we'll kill you, and they said, okay, kill me. And just completely things that are out of conceptualization for a lot of people in society. And yeah, so being in the world but not of it. And she said a really great quote that was, you can't change a world that you're not part of. And so I was recently at a conference with a group of bloggers, which was more of a political thing, but the main theme for it was the idea of get out of the echo chamber. Stop talking to just the people who are going to agree with you and who already know, and start talking to people who don't know yet, and start engaging them in discussion, and get out of the echo chamber. And so with the church, what are some ways that you can think of that we can get out of the echo chamber, and some really ripe grounds for harvest that people can go into and start talking about God and about Jesus?
I'm borrowing this phrase, but this was told to me. The best advice that this guy gave me was to stop going to church. And what he meant by that was instead to be the church and recognize that your Christian walk is every single moment of your life, that you're not being Christian when you're in the building. You know what I mean? Like you identify with Christ with your entire life. And so for me, what it took was learning that I don't have to always be the one with something to say. And so I just got out into the community and got to know people and just listen to them, you know? And like I wasn't so like goal oriented, like, you know, okay, there's this person that I know that I should tell them the gospel, so I'm gonna arrange like a coffee date and I'm just gonna like tell them how it is, you know? No, I got to know people, and I got to hear their stories and learn their lives, and you can find God in that. Just learning about what He's done in people's lives, and you know, God moves through everybody's life. It's not just believers. You know what I mean? Like we're all His creation. And so I can learn about Him from people that don't even know Him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so just, I think if we took the focus away from this Christian culture and just focus on getting to know the people around us, which in this day and age is kind of hard to do. We're so compartmentalized. You know? Really are. You'd be amazed what can happen, you know, when you're not so focused on like what needs to be done, you know? Because these are people that you're talking about, you know. These aren't statistics, It's not like, okay, we got 12 more Christians this week. Good job. Let's do a little better next week.
Yeah.
No, these are people's hearts, man. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I do, yeah.
That was the biggest thing. Like, just like take a step back, So.
Yeah.
Yeah. The art of listening is lost on our society, and that's it's just a sad truth, and one that we desperately need to get over, especially as people of love and people of faith, as Christians. The people tend to want to be heard more than to hear, more than to just be told something.
Yeah.
A common knowledge in speech giving is that in a persuasive speech, over 90% of the people you give a persuasive speech to isn't going to be converted if they don't agree with you. You can't sway someone's opinion. You have to, even in that setting, you have to tell people and try to convince them when they've already kind of come to, at the top of the hill where they're kind of leaning in this direction.
Right.
You can't take someone that's on one road and just put them on another. And not that that's always our goal, is to just slap people across the face and tell them to go the other direction. But
no. Yeah.
I mean, our main goal is to love people, and everyone has a story. Everyone has a perspective that needs to be respected.
Yeah.
And it does a lot of good to just stop talking for a while. Sometimes I feel it would be a good practice for every Christian to just spend a week of just not saying anything. Just don't talk. Just listen. Just listen to people have to say, and let that change you. And it's amazing the effect that can have, and what you appear to be to people, that when you just listen to them, because it just shows that you care.
Yeah.
And that you want to hear them, that you actually have a concern about their life. You're not just assuming one thing about them. Just like we were actually talking recently about us going into other ministries and being preached to, like being ministered to. I didn't know we were pastors. And
numerous times.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. Like, we walk into a different church and they'll start ministering to us, and they just assume that we have no idea who Jesus is.
Yeah.
And it's because they didn't listen to us. They didn't ask us if we knew. And so even within our own communities, we're bad at that.
Wow.
And
That's
and just I think getting out of that that echo chamber is it could be just a matter of people maybe stop waiting for their turn to speak, and wait for their just have the opportunity, take the opportunity to listen to what's being said, and then learn from that. And the man who is quiet appears wise, and it's better to appear wise than to open your mouth and prove to everyone that you're a fool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really true. And I mean, it's just interesting. I'd never actually heard about that before, with people approaching you guys and...
Yeah. That's, well, it's happened to me. It's happened to you.
Yeah.
It's happened to Mark, our head pastor.
Really?
He's walked in the churches, and especially before. I mean, he's cleaned up a little bit now, maybe not intentionally, but he had long gray hair and this huge beard, just don't look like a motorcycle riding dude. Oh yeah. And so he walks into a church that might be a little more conservative, and they just assume, wow, this guy's a lost guy coming to hear the truth.
Like, no, he's a pastor. He's got his own church he's running. But yeah, wow, that's really that's really amazing, though. And I mean, and it is true. I think a lot of people, and not even just throughout the Christian community, but just really in our society at large. I liked what you said, and I've heard it before with the people are just waiting for their turn to talk, or they're just thinking about what they're going to say. And I know I personally have a problem with that as well, because there's that desire to sort of sound smart and sound like, and just convince yourself that you're making a difference, and trying to make a difference in any situation, even if you're maybe barking up the wrong tree, or you're talking to someone who already knows, and it would be better to listen to them and then partner with them as opposed to any other, instead of preaching at them.
Yeah, it's people tend to listen to you better when you build a relationship with them first. They tend to respect what you have to say more if you actually have given them the time of day before. And that's something that me and Matt will do. And it's probably controversial in some churches, but we like to spend time at bars and just talk to people. And it's been amazing, the opportunities we've had just to get to know people, and people that have come to us asking us about what we do and what we believe, and have asked us to pray for them even before, and even a bar setting like that, just because we've sat there, we've got to know them, we've talked about things, and not been opinionated, not forced anything on them, not just sharing about what we believe, but actually, they can tell that we care about them as people, and that relationship causes them to trust us.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the time people will think of ripe grounds for meeting people in very limited terms, that it's, well, where are you going to meet people? Well, in the church. It's like, well, what about places where the church isn't in existence at all? I mean, one of the cool things, I just was talking with a guy who's up in Portland right now, who was at a storytelling competition in Northeast Portland, and it was very, very secular, very, I mean, there was poems about a bunch of different things, but I don't think he was the only Christian in the room, and he actually ended up winning the competition, and because of that, he was invited by another guy who's running a storytelling thing to go to an entirely sex-based storytelling. It was telling all these stories about sex, and one of their A-list things is that they're saying we had a Playboy model who came on here and told a sex story. And so they asked this pastor from SonRise Church in Portland to come and talk about sex. And so he sent the email back and he said, I'm going to be completely different than anything you've ever seen, but the opportunity to reach out to people who've maybe not met Jesus before is huge. But yeah, I think escaping the echo chamber is something that we really need to work on. And I think it is happening. We're getting ready to wrap up our show here, but thank you guys for being on here. It's been a fantastic discussion.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Thanks.
And I hope that for anybody watching this, that it's really beneficial for learning ways to get out of that echo chamber and really encourage a dialogue between people who may not necessarily agree with each other, just to really breed a more complex culture within each of us. So thank you guys for watching.
I definitely need some more scotch in this one. It's kind of...
Scotch. Hey everyone, pretty good I look.
Oh, what?
Anchorman, he's like, I need some more scotch.
I need some more
I'm kind of a big deal.